Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
All right, welcome to the Bold Book of the Day. This podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Please subscribe if you have gained any kind of inspiration or any knowledge from listening. You should subscribe. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers, and right now I just learned that we're currently at 200. So if you have gained any motivation or any inspiration from listening to the podcast, please subscribe and tell a friend and tell a friend to tell a friend. So today I have a man who spent 45 years saving lives as an emergency medicine doctor and who is a who in his retirement has dedicated himself to making sure the lives of remarkable women from history are never forgotten. Dr. Joe Lex is the author of All Bones Considered. Now we know why. 52 Laurel Hill Women, a collection of 52 extraordinary biographies drawn from years of research into the women buried Laurel Hill Cemetery in Philadelphia. Please welcome Dr. Joe Lex to the stage.
Dr. Richardson, thank you very much. Where do you want to start?
I get called Richardson a lot. And okay. Yes, but my name is Nicholson. But
Nicholson? Well,
yes.
I apologize.
No, I'm telling you, this is very, very
I'm
common.
not alone.
And you're not alone. Well, welcome to the stage, and please tell us.
I've even got your name written right there, and I still said it wrong. Okay,
that's okay.
Dr. Nicholson, let us continue. There we go.
You spent 45 years as an emergency medicine doctor.
No. I spent 45 years in emergency medicine. It was only 20. Let's see. I graduated in 86, so it was 30 years as a doctor. But 7 years as an ER nurse. And before that, I was an ER tech. And before that, I was a medic in the Army. I was a medic in Vietnam. That is where I got my initial trauma training, was as a medic in Vietnam.
Wow. You worked your way up.
I did. That's literally what I did. And that's literally what going into the Army is supposed to do.
Wow.
Because when I got out of the Army, I was able to go to nursing school on the GI Bill. And it just all worked out the way it was supposed to when you serve your country.
So you went into the Army very young. Why did you go into the Army?
That's easy. I was drafted.
You were drafted. Yeah, oh, my goodness.
Wow. I graduated from high school in 65. I went to college, and it was obvious I wasn't ready. Wow. So I dropped out of college, and boy, the draft grabbed me. In October of 66, I was off to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I wanted to try to avoid combat, as did everyone. So I thought maybe medicine might be the way. And I literally put in that I wanted to do medicine.
Okay.
And what they did, they would guarantee me an opportunity to do medicine if I would extend my enlistment. If you're drafted, you only have to serve 2 years. If you volunteer, you serve 3 years.
Yes.
So they said, if you give us a 3-year commitment, you go into medicine. I said, okay, I'll do that. Okay. I did well enough in basic medic training that they sent me to a special school called Clinical Specialist Training, 91 Charlie. And after 40 weeks, I was an assistant battalion surgeon. So I still went to Vietnam. I was still in the field with an infantry unit, but I was primarily with the aid station in the field. We were a mechanized unit. So I spent most of my time at the battalion aid station in the armored personnel carrier in the field. But I saw my share of combat. I just don't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
So and then after that, I became an ER tech.
So you became an ER tech inside of the program in the Army?
Well, ER tech essentially meant an orderly in the emergency department with special skills.
Okay.
I could suture, I could reduce simple dislocations, I could do casting and splinting. I could do a lot of things that usual orderlies couldn't do. And in fact, some things that nurses couldn't even do.
Did you
And
learn that in the Army?
I learned that in the Army.
Oh.
And then when I started working in an ER, I saw what the nurses were doing. And I said, well, I could do that.
Okay.
So that's when I decided to go to nursing school. And after nursing school, for the first time, I started to work in an ER of a teaching hospital. So I'm seeing what interns do for the first time. I said, well, I can do that. So I went to medical school, and I got into medical school when I was 35 years old and just never looked back.
Wow. Very impressive. You went to the Army, found that passion to help people, then started in the field of medicine. When you got out of the Army, you went to work as in the emergency room. Then
eventually, there were a few lost years in
gap years where you try to figure it out.
I'm a 3-time college dropout.
Yes.
I don't have a bachelor's degree in anything.
Wow.
I retired as a professor of emergency medicine with a national teaching award named for me. And I don't have a bachelor's degree.
So there is hope for any young person that's listening that is confused and you can't figure it out. Here I'm speaking to a medical doctor, and he was a dropout 3 times from college, and now he's a successful author as well. Come on, that is hope for anyone that is listening and is confused at this time.
Dr. Denise, never forget that I started out as a tall, straight, white American male. How many obstacles did I have to overcome to get where I am?
A few, but you know
the point.
The point is, you had less obstacles than many others.
I had virtually no obstacles, and what's even more scary than that, are you ready for this?
Tell me.
You know how much it cost me to go to medical school?
Oh my goodness, how much did it cost you to go to medical school?
$300 a year.
$300 a year. Wow.
I came out of medical school debt-free.
Unlikely, unheard of right now. Okay.
Totally unheard of. The people that the residents that I was training at Temple, some of them were more than $400,000 in debt. And I essentially got a free ride with the GI Bill and dirt cheap tuition for medical school. I went to medical school in Texas in the early 80s. There was an oil glut. They were shoveling all this money into education, and the tuition for medical school was literally $300 a year.
Yeah.
And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Wow. You know, it's so unfortunate that young people don't have those opportunities nowadays. It's so unfortunate.
It's maddening.
Yeah.
All of the opportunities that were laid in front of me and said, here, take your choice.
Wow. And that's not even so long ago.
It's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, I'm at an age where a half a century isn't that long ago. I literally think in terms of decades anymore, because years are just too compact.
Yes. Wow. So
anyway,
tell me about, how did you discover Laurel Hill Cemetery?
Laurel?
And what was it about this particular place that made you want to dig deeper into history?
Laurel Hill Cemetery, it's Laurel. It was founded in 1836 in the East Falls section of Philadelphia. East Falls is right along the Schuylkill River. It was an industrial area. There were a lot of like linoleum manufacturers there and textile manufacturers taking advantage of the water power to run their engines. And the cemetery was founded in 1836 and became the resting place for a lot of upper crust Philadelphia, a lot of the rich people, a lot of founding fathers. We have a couple of signers of the Declaration of Independence, Charles Thompson and Thomas McKean, both signed the Declaration of Independence. We have David Rittenhouse, the first director of the U.S. Treasury is buried there. So we've got lots of important people from 19th century America and Philadelphia. When that started to fill in the 1860s, the owners looked across the river and upstream. They found property and they started Laurel Hill West.
Mm-hmm.
Laurel Hill West is about twice as big as Laurel Hill East. It's got a totally different feel. Laurel Hill East is sort of a Victorian cemetery. It's got that Victorian feel with the marble spires and the melting crosses and things like that. Laurel Hill West is more of an Edwardian cemetery. It's got more, there's like 300 mausoleums, and many of them have a Louis Comfort Tiffany stained glass in them. So it's a different look, it's a different feel. Also, to be honest with you, Laurel Hill East was essentially people of color were not allowed to be buried there legally until the 1960s. It was literally written into the contract that it was white people only to be buried at Laurel Hill East. Laurel Hill West never had that written into the contract. So at Laurel Hill West, it attracted people of color that were sort of repelled by what was going on at the old mainline white Protestant cemetery in Philadelphia, this new one. So over at Laurel Hill West, we've got a really strong African-American population over at West. For instance, I don't talk about them because they're not women, but just among entertainers, we have Billy Paul, Teddy Pendergrass, and Grover Washington Jr. They're all buried within a few hundred feet of each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have other politicians, Black politicians like Sam Evans. We've got a couple of people who were involved in the move. Remember, you know the story about the MOVE fire back in 1986 when Philadelphia bombed its own people?
No, I have never heard of that
You
story.
do not know the MOVE story. Wow.
No.
Okay, we have a couple of those people, people who are involved in that MOVE family who were buried at Laurel Hill West. So we've got a nice, Laurel Hill West looks more like 20th and 21st century Philadelphia than Laurel Hill East does. Laurel Hill East looks like 19th century Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
Laurel Hill West looks like late 20th and early 21st century Philadelphia.
Okay.
So that's the difference between the two cemeteries. How I got interested was I went on a tour there. A year or two after I retired, I was fumbling around looking for things to do. I retired in 2016. And I'd started being a judge for the local Barrymore Awards, which are the theatrical awards. I'd actually picked up a radio show on a local community radio station, which is still in reruns, by the way. They've never replaced it. But I went on a tour at Laurel Hill West, and they mentioned that they were looking for new guides. And I realized, wow, an opportunity to do research and to teach. That is what I miss the most. I mean, I love the patients, don't get me wrong. But what I really missed was the opportunity to do research and to teach. And here was an opportunity being handed to me on a silver platter to do research and to teach about people who lived before. This was about the time that some publications like the New York Times and the Times of London were realizing that women had been ignored for so many years. And they started to publish obituaries of women who lived 50, 80, 120 years ago. And it made me realize all of these fascinating women who not only had never had their stories told, but in many cases were not even allowed to tell their own stories.
Yeah.
When did women start to write their own histories? Any
Very
idea?
late. No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. I mean, you can find examples, of course, in the 17th, 18th centuries, even in the 19th century, but women didn't really start to write their own histories, I'm going to say, until the late 19th and early 20th century. So anything I read about women before that is probably from a male perspective, and I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But what I have discovered in my research is an amazing array of women who were the first at things we just take for granted nowadays.
Yeah.
The first woman to get a PhD in chemistry in the United States. She's buried at Laurel Hill. The first woman to get a PhD in economics in the United States. That would be Sadie Tanner Mossel Alexander, an African-American woman who's buried at Laurel Hill West.
Mm-hmm.
She did not, this woman, this brilliant woman who went to Penn and got her PhD in economics, the only job she could get was as an actuary with a black-run insurance company in North Carolina.
Wow.
So she went back to school, and this time she went to Harvard Law School, and she got her law degree. Now people started paying attention to her.
Yes.
But she married another activist, a guy named Raymond Pace Alexander, two totally different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond Pace Alexander was the descendant of enslaved people. He was one generation removed from enslaved ancestors. He knew, well, just to summarize him, because I don't talk about him in the book, I talk about his wife, even though I've done a podcast about both of them. Raymond took a part-time job at the Metropolitan Opera House. This is in the 19-teens, about the 19-teens. Took a job at the Metropolitan Opera House where he learned to speak Italian and German and French and Spanish so he could converse with all of the singers who were coming in.
Oh, he's impressive.
So he learned 5 languages before he was out of college.
Yeah.
He also went to UPenn, and he also went to Harvard, got his LLD. So he hired his wife, and they were the power couple. They were the first black power couple in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They really were, Raymond Pace. But the cool thing about Sadie is Sadie, as of this year, will be the first named black woman to have a statue in Philadelphia. There are statues of black women in Philadelphia, but they're generic.
Yeah.
She will be the first named black woman to have a statue, and it's going to be right at City Hall.
Thank you for doing this research. Thank you so much for doing this kind of work. The research for the book started out for the podcast, but it's impressive, and you've taught me so much already.
Well, actually, the research started for the tours.
Oh, it started for the
research
tours.
started for the tours, and I kept discovering these people saying, I have too many people. What am I going to do with this? So I started the podcast. And then I kept building up more material. So I started the second podcast, Biographical Bites from Bala, Laurel Hill West Stories. I concentrate just on people at West. And then I ended up with 300, 400 scripts for the podcast. The podcast is free, by the way. You can listen to the podcast to your heart's content. But I had all of these scripts, and I said, well, it's time to do a book. So I took 52 men, 52 women, and I looked at them. No contest. Who do you think was more interesting?
The women.
Because they had to be. Because they had to be, right?
Yes, yes.
So that's what makes
or you would be ignored no matter, what you've accomplished. You had to be impressive and remarkable.
The stories behind some of these women is just absolutely mind-boggling. You ever heard of Marion Stokes?
No.
Marion
shame
Stokes,
on me.
No, not shame on you. Why should you? Why should you know these things? If you were to look at the index of this book, there are 52 women in here.
Yeah.
I would be very impressed if you knew more than 2 names.
I'm going to get that book. I want to learn all of them. Yes. Thank you.
But yeah, so I've got 52 women in here, starting with Esther DeBert Reed, who was the first lady of Pennsylvania, and in colonial Philadelphia was second only to Martha Washington as far as the women who are best known. Wow. And that's the first woman in the book, and I do it chronologically in different sections. I have movers and shakers, and then I have artists, authors, and entertainers, and then I have scholars and educators, healers and givers, and then some oddities, some odds and ends. But let me tell you about Marion Stokes. Marion Stokes, I'm going to open her chapter. I'll read you a little bit.
Yes.
Marion Stokes was a tech-savvy Philadelphian who realized that the collective memory could be short and decided to do something about it. She was a whip-smart woman loaded with contradictions. She was a card-carrying communist who tried to defect to Cuba, yet invested in Apple Inc. when it was $7 a share. Late in life, she had a full-time chauffeur, secretary, and caretaker. She was a huge believer in modern technology, but yet never sent a single email in her life. And through a visionary passion for recording everything she saw and didn't see on television for 35 years, she supplied an irreplaceable reference for that period for the rest of mankind. This woman bought 8 tape machines. She recorded everything on television for 30 years.
Wow.
Let me read you a little more.
I'm stunned.
Let's see. In the early 1960s, she married a Jewish activist named Mickey Medlitz. He's still alive. He only had one vocal cord, so he talked like this. He's whispering. Okay. It says, in the early 1960s, Marion and Mickey were at the heart of the civil rights movement in Philadelphia. By 1963, they'd become members of the Communist Party, which of course drew scrutiny from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Right. They helped arrange several buses to carry protesters to Washington, D.C. for the famed 1963 March on Washington. Here's where she divorced Melvin, and she got involved in local television. You're going to love this. She saw the power of the medium to communicate and to mold opinion, and recognized the fairness doctrine that in play, this is pre-Reagan now, would give her a voice that she might otherwise never have been given to an ex-communist, twice divorced Black woman. The fairness doctrine required holders of broadcast licenses to devote some of their time to discussing controversial matters. Are you old enough? I don't think you're old enough to remember the fairness doctrine. When Sunday morning television was this vast wasteland of public opinion, talking heads, and gay organists. I mean, that's what you saw on television on Sunday morning. So anyway, Sunday morning, she goes on this show, and she got into a show called Input. Frequent guest, became co-producer with John Stockdale Stokes Jr., a wealthy gentleman from Chestnut Hill. Chestnut Hill is the creme de la creme in Philadelphia.
Okay.
She was fearless in her discussions, especially with the white patriarchy. She explained why people in power did not take opinions from Black people. That's what's wrong with Black folks. We don't say it the right way. When another guest patronized her by talking about the power of the democratic process, she snapped back, if you want Black folks to have faith in the democratic process, make it work. You watch these snippets on television and you can see John Stockdale Stokes Jr. falling in love with this woman right before
okay.
He divorced his wife and
oh my goodness,
5 children behind, married this ex-communist. They lived together for the next 45 years.
Wow.
They were madly in love with each other. I mean, this guy came from money. His mother's portrait was painted by Diego Rivera. That's the type of family that he came from. But he married this African-American woman from West Philadelphia, and they made this life together. And when she died, her son went around and turned off all of the recorders for the first time in 30 years. It was the morning of the Sandy Hook massacre. He turned off the television. By that time, all the news channels were recording their own histories. But Marion Stokes saved 30 years of television that nobody else had. It is in the archive.org on the West Coast. They are putting it in their website, archive.org, the Marion Stokes collection, little by little. It will take years to put all that stuff out. But this, you talk about walking the line between brilliance and madness. I mean, you talk about the ultimate hoarder. When they claimed, she ended up with 8 houses full of stuff.
Yeah.
With tapes. She also collected books. Every time she'd go to Barnes and Noble, she'd spend $700 or $800 on books. She subscribed to 200 magazines and 100 newspapers, and she never threw anything out. So this massive, but on the other hand, the brilliance of recording what nobody else was doing.
I mean, that's like what we're seeing now with everyone in the social media platforms recording themselves and doing video blogs and get ready with me or spend the day with me. But she was seriously recording every single thing that was happening on television for what, 30
about 30
years,
years.
about
They
30
built
years,
their
every
lives
single
around it.
day.
Even
Yeah.
when they went out for a dinner, they had to time it so they could get back to change the tapes.
Yes.
Yeah, they use 6-hour tapes, maybe 8-hour tapes. And this is before Amazon. That
Yeah.
means the chauffeur and the maid are scrounging around town trying to buy tapes for blank tapes for
Yeah.
Marion's project because they've just wiped out the blank tape supply through parts of the city. It's an amazing story. There's a documentary about her. It's
Yeah.
called Recorder. You
So
can see it,
she
I think, on YouTube.
so she is one of the many Black women that were buried in the Laurel Hill West
West,
Cemetery
yes.
because of the racism,
Yeah.
you know.
We have a very tiny Black population at Laurel Hill East. I
Uh-huh.
don't think there are more than although we do have Leonard Hubbard, the bass player for the Roots.
Yeah.
He was the first bass player for the Roots. He died of a blood condition several years ago, and he's buried at Laurel Hill East. He is one of the few people of color that's buried at Laurel Hill East. Now it's primarily because there's no more room.
How did you decide who made the cut for your book? Because so many.
I had to make some interesting decisions.
Yeah.
Like I wanted one television personality, so I had to cut out Sheila Allen Stevens, who was essentially Philadelphia's Oprah, so I could put on Edie Huggins because I thought Edie Huggins had a far more interesting story. I mean, she was the first Miss Black Cornhusker at the University of Nebraska. And her name wasn't Edie. Her name was Eddie Lou. She was named after her father.
Okay.
And it's when she moved to Philadelphia, she was doing television in New York. She was doing some acting. She was a nurse. She was actually a nurse who played a nurse on a soap opera. And then she came to Philadelphia and became Edie Huggins, who was the evening anchor. She just put everybody at ease. Edie was everybody's friend. Edie put everybody at ease. They gave her special programs. Huggins Heroes was one of her programs. And so I had to save Sheila Allen Stevens for the next book when I get to the next book.
So there's something else coming and something else coming down the pipeline.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got enough material for 4 books.
Oh, wow.
What I may not have is time.
Where can we find your book?
The book is available. What I'd like you to do, and this way the cemetery gets all of the profits, is if you go to laurelhillphl.com and
please say that again. We had
I
Wi-Fi
saw that
shortage.
freeze.
Yeah.
If you go to laurelhillphl.com and you find the gift shop, if you buy the book directly from the gift shop, the cemetery gets all of the proceeds.
Oh, wow.
I self-published this book and I gave 300 copies to the cemetery, and everything they sell, they just keep it all. It's more fun than leaving them money in my will. This is a lot more fun. So they've got 300 copies of the book to get rid of, but you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Book Baby. I don't know. Barnes and Nobles have been kind of squishy with it, whether they're going to keep it or not.
Is it online though for Barnes and Noble?
I haven't checked recently. The last time I checked, it was. But
Do you have a website? Can they go straight to your website?
The website is through Book Baby.
Okay.
Shame on me. I forgot the URL.
That's okay.
That's okay. But the book is All Bones Considered, 52 Laurel Hill Women. You want to hear about anybody else?
I want to hear about the name. How did you come up with the name All Bones Considered?
I wish it was one of 2 friends who recommended this, if I'm remembering it correctly. I was looking for a clever name, and I put it out to my Facebook friends, and it was either Mari Siegel or Terry Mulligan. I'm not sure which, who suggested All Bones Considered. They might not even remember because that was a good 7 or 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I thought All Bones Considered was a pretty decent name.
Yeah.
The podcast may not be what people think of as a typical podcast. On the first of the month, All Bones Considered comes out. It is a monster. The last one I put out was more than 3 hours long. This one is called Revisiting the Statues at City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I did was Philadelphia City Hall, when it was built,
Uh-huh.
built, same thing, was actually the largest building in the Western Hemisphere. And it was almost the tallest.
We've come a long way.
Washington Monument beat it out by 5.5 feet. But anyway, City Hall has statues, more than 250 statues on the outside, including the massive William Penn on top. I did a podcast about that several years ago. I returned to it and talked about people with statues outside of City Hall. 2 who have standing statues, 1 who has a statue, or actually a bas-relief in one of the entrances, and then another one who has Easter eggs, little surprises of cats chasing mice in another section. And each of those segments then gets released as a separate podcast on the following days. So if all you want to hear about is John MacArthur, the architect of City Hall, you wait a couple of days and that's all you get is John MacArthur. You don't have to listen to the whole 3 hours.
Right.
But that's the way the podcast is set up. These are deeply researched. I am an untrained renegade researcher, but the research I do is not the typical research. I mean, that's the advantage of not having a college degree. I didn't have any rules to break.
But did your experience as a medical professional somehow help you to be,
as an ER doc,
be more observant?
Confronting things that come as a surprise, you mean?
Yeah.
That was my whole life.
Yeah.
Come on, I was an ER doc. I never knew what I was going to be doing 10 seconds ahead of time. In emergency medicine, you just never knew what was going to happen.
Yes.
In emergency medicine.
Now, I had a question. I'm trying to remember.
You sent me a list of questions.
Yes. Wait, I'm going to get to those. But did writing the book change you as a person?
Oh, hell yeah. Are you kidding?
How so?
How could it not?
Right.
How could I not look at amazing women from the 19th century and the early 20th century and shake my head and say, how in the hell did they do that?
Wow.
I mean, one of the women I discovered that even the cemetery historian didn't know she was there was Glenna Collette Vere, a white woman. She was from Connecticut.
Yeah.
But Glenna Collette Vere is buried in an unmarked grave at Laurel Hill West. And yet the LPGA at the end of every season gives the Vere Cup to the woman with the lowest average. And she's buried in an unmarked grave at Laurel Hill West. When she was 19 years old, she could drive a golf ball 300 yards. When she was in her 80s,
she's still speaking from the grave, though.
When she was in her 80s, she played in a foursome where she outdrove the other 3 women, all of whom were a third her age or younger.
Was it why do you think she was buried in an unmarked grave?
Well, it's because of who she married. She married into the Vere family. And I don't want to really go into the politics of Philadelphia, but the Vere brothers were the princes of South Philadelphia. They controlled the trash business. They were essentially early mob. They were mob before there was such a thing as the Philly mob. They controlled the trash business. They totally ruined the sesquicentennial that was supposed to happen, or the sesquicentennial that was supposed to happen in 1926. It was a total disaster because of the Vere brothers. She married the son of one of the Vere brothers, and I just don't think the Vere brothers are held in that much esteem that they want to advertise it. It's a shame because there's no doubt she was the best woman golfer, best woman American golfer of the first third of the 20th century. She won the amateur 5 times.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to
impressive.
Do that.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to stay amateur long enough to do it 5 times.
To me, I'm thinking of all of the contributions that these women has contributed, all of the things that they've contributed to the world. And then I'm thinking about how they are buried and the place they're buried, and almost like a confrontation, they decided, or the universe conspired to share their story despite people trying to stop
I'm okay
them
with
and hold
that.
them down.
I'm
And
okay with that.
and it's like you were one of the people that are being used to share these research and these women's history and how impactful these women have been and how they are still impacting people to this day. The history that they've made.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The woman who invented refrigerated railroad cars is buried at Laurel Hill East. Beer and meat were local products until she invented refrigerated railroad cars. And then suddenly beer manufacturers could ship their beer all over the country and it wouldn't spoil.
If you could meet any one of these women, you've only chosen 52, and that by itself was not easy. If you could meet with any one of the women that you researched, which one would you choose to meet with?
That's an interesting question because it depends. I've got a crush on a couple of them. No, seriously. But they're intimidating. They're intimidating.
So you have a crush on about 4 of them, but you find them intimidating because?
A couple of them. Well, one is because of her outstanding beauty. I wrote about this woman. Her name, are you ready for this?
Tell me.
Amy Ernesta Drinker Bullet Bow Barlow.
Oh my goodness, I would never.
But her nickname was Commando Mary.
Let's call her Commando Mary. It's much easier for me to remember.
Now, wouldn't you want to meet a woman named Amy Ernesta Drinker Bullet Bow Barlow, but everybody called her Commando Mary? Yes.
Yeah, I would want to meet her.
She was the daughter of this proper mainline Quaker family. Her oldest brother was the top constitutional lawyer in town. Her second oldest brother invented the iron lung. Her third oldest brother started the public health department at Harvard. Her sister wrote 5 books that were Book of the Month Club, even though she did not study literature. So I can identify with her. I mean, here's this untrained woman writing these books that everybody's reading. But of all of, and then the wife of the woman who founded the public health department at Harvard also discovered the cause of what was causing the radium girls to die, the women who were dying after painting the watch dials back in the 20s. I don't know if you know that story.
No.
Okay. And then the wife of another one was the first woman to write a history of women in music, Sophie Drinker. So this amazing family, and yet the one I'm obsessed with is Amy Ernesta Drinker Bullet Bow Barlow. She was the most beautiful of the 4. She had more than 50 marriage proposals before she was 18. She stopped counting when she turned 18. And her first husband was Bill Bullitt. Bill Bullitt later became our ambassador to the Soviet Union. In fact, he was our first ambassador to the Soviet Union. They broke up. She had an affair with Rockwell Kent. Then she married an opera composer named Samuel Barlow. It's just, they used to have these salons in New York on Wednesday night where you might walk in and find Paul Robeson was singing. It was just an amazing woman, but she intimidates the hell out of me when I read about her. The Commando Mary came from, she wanted to do something during the war. So she did a radio show, and she adopted this very proper mix of Boston mainline accent. And she did a radio show, very properly speaking, trying to get women involved in the war effort. And as a joke, they named her Commando Mary. This very proper sounding woman. And when Eleanor Roosevelt interviewed her on her radio show, said, "Do you mind people calling you Commando Mary?" She said, "Well, I did it first. When I found out the farmers were naming their cows after me, I thought it was okay." So Amy Ernesta Drinker Bullet Bow Barlow, I would love to meet. Glenna Collette Vare, the golfer, I would love to meet. And there are some of these women that are just, I want them to be my next door neighbor. There's one woman that I talk about. In fact, she's one of the, I told you about Esther de Burt Reed, who was the earliest one. She was born in 1747. The newest one in the book is Winifred Harris. She died in 2016. Winnie was she was the glue that held the neighborhood together. She would be the perfect next door neighbor.
Oh, okay. She looked
Winnie,
like she could cook her butt off.
You know what she was into though? Botany, horticulture. She
Oh,
set up gardens in West Philadelphia in abandoned property to the point where the city finally gave up and let her have them, helped her get water supplies for them. And she personally planted more than 1,500 trees around Philadelphia. And people on her block, the value of their houses was about $5,000 more than the houses on surrounding blocks
so we
because
do.
because of the trees that Winnie had planted. Winnie was a dynamo. She really was. She was everywhere, every place, all at once. And unfortunately, in 2016, she was the victim of a home invasion.
Mhm.
And two guys broke into the wrong house. And Winnie tried to protect herself with a baseball bat, and they shot and killed her.
Oh, that's a
And
sad
it
way
was
to
just,
go out.
I mean, the whole neighborhood
After
was just
having
plunged.
contributed so much to the community and
Yeah.
then to end up dying from the community, that is a sad way to go.
And
Wow.
they did catch the men who did it. They are
Mhm.
serving long terms,
Yeah.
but nobody's really filled the hole that was left in that neighborhood when
Yeah.
Winnie was killed. But she's the type of woman whose story that I love finding out about. You know,
Sound like she did her passion project. She lived her life as a passion project.
she did. She
Yeah.
really did. She went to her daughter was so proud of her. What her daughter wanted me to say in the podcast was make sure people know that she was the first in our family to go to college. That's what she was
Oh,
most proud of, was that Winnie went to college.
yes. And she was the first.
And she was the first.
Yeah.
She was the first in the family to go to college.
Yeah. What advice do you have for anyone that's listening that they are thinking about their life and what contribution they can, leave in this world? Because these 52 women, they probably weren't thinking of, all of the history that they were creating. But let's be intentional and think about what kind of world we can leave behind. What can we contribute to this world while we are here? What kind of advice can you give to someone that is, thinking that I'm too old or I'm too young or I don't have,
Nobody's too anything for anything.
Yes.
My advice is if you're not keeping a journal, do so.
Ooh, I'm going to get back to my journaling.
And the reason is 120 years from now, a great grandnephew or somebody will pick that up. You hope. You'll never know.
Yeah.
If somebody picks that up, it will be a life-changing event for them to read about what you were doing now.
Yes.
That is, I cannot encourage people to do that enough. Elizabeth Drinker, there's that Drinker name again. I told you about the whole Drinker family.
That Drinker family is, they come up a lot.
What's that?
I hear them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Elizabeth Drinker was the great-great-grandmother. She was the one who lived in colonial days. She wrote a diary where she kept track of what all of her neighbors were doing and who died from what and who went to church there. And she said she was writing it for her great-grandchildren. Would you believe that Elizabeth Drinker's diary is our primary source for day-to-day living in colonial Philadelphia?
Oh, wow.
This diary that she wrote for her grandchildren. Do you think that artist, I'm blanking on his name, but think about these artists that you read about who 20 years after they die, somebody opens a shed and there's crate after crate of photographic negatives.
Yeah.
That nobody knew were there, that this person had created, or this shed that has paintings stacked in it.
It's like time traveling.
It's and you never know. I never know how long what I'm doing will last.
Yes.
But I've sent an awful lot of ripples out in a lot of different directions.
Mm-hmm.
I was a teacher of emergency medicine
Yes.
for 15 years, which means that I have dozens, if not hundreds, of people out there who are doing things because I taught them how to do them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my legacy. I
Yeah.
also have a National Teaching Award named for me. The
Yeah.
Joe Lex Educator of the Year Award is given every year by the American Academy of Emergency Medicine.
Yeah.
So my legacy is set.
Yes.
I have my journals. Will they end up in a landfill? Or will they end up in a historical society? I've
You
already
never know.
made one step. I've studied. This is interesting. I'm 78 years old. Okay, I've rounded third. I'm heading home. There's no denying it. There's
Yes.
no way to get around it. I'm on my way down. I'm starting to think of my life as a play, and we're in Act 3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already started to return some of the props. Believe it or not, I had a wall hanging, a cartoon on my wall for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of weeks ago, I got it by stealing it from a storage shed at the University of Illinois 50 years ago. A couple of weeks ago, I sent it back to the University of Illinois with a check for $500. I thanked them for the rental
Borrowed it for
the rental of the cartoon at $10 a year for 50 years. And now that cartoon is back where it belongs. But that cartoon got me through. The cartoon was a Pogo cartoon, Walt Kelly Pogo, and it talked about Owl opening his whole university. Owl was one of the characters. I taught at Temple University, which is Owl University.
Oh,
That
wow.
cartoon literally predicted that I would teach at Temple.
That's
And
the
now-
power of a vision board.
And now it has served its purpose, and I have sent it back to the archive at the University of Illinois, and I'll see what they do with it.
Yes. Did
But
they
I'm
even
doing
know
the
it was
same-
missing? I mean,
I'm doing the same thing with the books. I'm getting rid of
Yeah.
the books. I've already got rid of 4,000 record albums.
wow.
There is a record bar that opened in town, and I said, "You want some jazz?" Yeah, we're a jazz bar. So I gave them like 3,000, 4,000 jazz albums I had. But that's what you got to do. You get the information out there.
You have to come back. Dr. Jolex, we are so impressed with the number of stories that you've shared with us already and just your life to see. I think that's the most impressive for me, to see where you started. And of course you said, you're a white man and you didn't have, hurdles that
Small impediments.
impediments.
At
Or you
best.
had small impediments.
Yeah,
But
at
to
best.
see where you have come from, a college dropout 3 times. And today you are an author. You've had almost 50 years in medicine. You are just a beam of hope. A beam of hope. So thank you.
Unfortunately, I may be one of the last of a breed also.
But I also like that you have awakened the stories of these women that have made such a contribution to humanity.
They were real people. That's what I want to show. They were real people. They had dandruff and hangnails, just like us.
Oh my goodness, just like us. Yeah.
And they passed on values. And
Yeah.
every gravestone, and forgive the pun, is a concrete reminder. I was here.
Yeah.
I was here. I lived a life.
Yeah.
And I love sharing the lives that I find. I really do.
Yeah, before you go, I have 3 questions that I like to ask.
Yes.
One of them is, what's one bold promise that you can share with the audience today?
Bold comment. All right. If you read my book, you will come away with at least 3 new insights from each chapter.
And what's one bold statement that you would like to share that may cause a paradigm shift?
All right. Go look at cemeteries differently. Go look at cemetery markers differently. They're not just memorials. They're proof that there are real people, just like you, just like me.
And what's a bold move that you'd like to make in the future?
Yeah, for myself, my legacy is set. I've got a National Teaching Award named for me. I'm good. I want to inspire others to tell the stories of people whose voices are not being heard, because we're in a very precarious situation in our country right now. We did not talk politics, and I don't want to get into it because I want to adapt the attitude of, have you seen the movie Bridge of Spies? Steven Spielberg movie, Bridge of Spies. Mark Rylance plays the Russian spy Rudolph Abel. Tom Hanks plays his defense attorney. And Tom Hanks explains to him, if you are found guilty, you will probably be hanged. And Mark Rylance says, okay. And Tom Hanks says, you don't seem alarmed. He says, would it help? This is the attitude I am trying to take about the current political situation in the United States. I get so frustrated. I get so mad. I get so, yes. And then I say to myself, will it help? Nope. Doesn't help a bit. All right.
Yeah.
Use that energy in another way. Another way.
Oh, thank you for sharing that too, because I sometimes get frustrated by the current politics of not just the United States, but look at our world. And sometimes it's discouraging and I want to scream and I want to yell, but would it help?
Exactly. Good. Exactly. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get there.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure, Dr. Lex. You have been truly, truly a moving character. I just enjoy these provoking conversations. You have taken women who were buried, and in some cases, literally and figuratively, buried by history, and you have brought them roaring back to life.
Oh, I hope so. They deserve to roar. These are women who deserve to roar. And I've got at least 20 more since the book was published that I haven't even published. But
I'm looking forward to hearing all of them, even if you don't get them published, but you have them on the podcast and we get to hear their stories. I think All Bones Considered only had 52 stories, but there's so much more, like you said. Yeah.
Hundreds more.
Yeah. Please go out and get the book, guys. You can listen to the podcast, but I want you to go out and support our authors. They're coming up here after having.
I don't get a penny. I don't get a penny. All the money goes to the cemetery.
Yeah, they're investing in their stories and putting out these big ideas and just creating a place for people to like in this book. Dr. Lex has created a place where we can hear these women's stories and how their lives, how impressive their lives were and how much they have contributed to humanity. And I just wanted to say that's a big deal because you live but for so long, but 100 years from now when you're no longer here, if you are an author, your book will be here. And someone like Dr. Lex deserves for our stories to continue on. So please go out and support Dr. Lex and get his book, All Bones Considered, 52 Laurel Hill Women. And it's available now, or you can go and get it on his website.
Amazon also.
Yes.
You get it at Amazon.
And thank you guys for joining. Remember to subscribe to our channel.
And I will say goodbye the way that I end my tours. And that is stay safe, stay well, and stay above ground.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And if you are thinking about writing a book and you just don't know where to start or you're stuck, you can join my writing community, the Writing Incubator. Just send us an email at authordnicholson@gmail.com. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.